From Orlando, Florida and Tulsa, Oklahoma, welcome to the 1330 Podcast with your hosts, Keith Neighbor and Brent Bailey. Pulling from nearly half a century of experience, Brent and Keith share unique wisdom and proven insight to build the leader within you. Interact with us now on Facebook and Twitter at 1330 Podcast or email your questions and comments to 1330podcast@gmail.com. The 1330 Podcast starts right now.
Well, Merry Christmas and welcome to this edition of the 1330 Podcast. My name is Keith Neighbor, and we've got Santa Claus in the house.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Actually, that's not Santa. That's
No,
Brent.
it's me. It's Brent. And Brent Bailey here with you, and we're so excited to be able to be with you one last time before the end of the year, and hope that you have hung your stockings by the chimney with care, and that you got your Christmas decorations up and you're ready.
Along with some mistletoe, and you're making out with your wife underneath it.
Hey, or your girlfriend.
Well, let's not promote that.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, it's Christmas time. You're going to...
You can kiss your girlfriend under the mistletoe. So.
All right, we'll let them do that.
All right.
Hey, we were talking about appreciation this last
sure were.
This last podcast, and we're going to continue on with
I
that.
appreciate you bringing that up, Keith.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you appreciating me, Brent. I feel so good right now. In one of the ways in appreciation that I think that we have to look at is celebration. And to me, one of the great problems in the church is that we're so driven with the next big thing that we're doing that we fail to stop and look at what we do. And I'm going to quote Ferris Bueller here on this one. Ferris Bueller made a quote that said, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." And Brent, there's a lot of people missing life because I'm guilty because we just don't stop and look around.
Yeah.
And, we do these, in my opinion, some pretty fantastic events. And big things to our church life or our church, whether they're big to another church or not, doesn't matter. If it's big to your church, it's a big deal. I believe that it's important that we stop and celebrate those things.
Yes.
Way back when, we went to a church conference, youth ministry conference, a big church up in the northern part of the States, and we were talking to some of the people that were there, and I was absolutely blown away by the fact that they said when the conference was all over, they were taking a week off. Meaning the staff really wasn't going to do much. They weren't doing youth services that next week. They weren't doing any of that. They just sent them in with the adults. The pastor was the one that had implemented this. And I said, well, if you guys aren't doing service, what are you doing? He said, we are having a big party at one of the people that goes to our church has this huge mansion of a house. And they love the church and they love what we're doing, and we're going to have a huge party for all the people that were a part of this. And we are going to kind of debrief a little bit, but really what we're going to do is we are going to celebrate the lives that were touched and that are going to be reached through this conference that we did. Which this was a very foreign concept to me because I'd never really been around any place before that celebrated things like this. And what were they doing? They were stopping and life was moving pretty fast. So they were going to stop and look around a little bit because they didn't want to miss it. And they wanted to show their people what they did was important. And not only was it important then, it's important now. A week after the fact, we are going to celebrate what we did. And we're going to take the week off. And we're all going to get together. We're going to eat some great food. We're going to, hang out together and have a good time and talk and chat. And we're just going to celebrate the victory that we had this past week. Mm. Why don't we do that more often? I mean, we're always looking for a reason to get together and do something. Yeah. What better reason than, man, Easter service was great. The Christmas program was awesome. Yeah, we gave away, we gave away backpacks and it was a success, or it was, whatever. Why are we not looking for opportunities to get people together and celebrate that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the fondest memories I have is when we moved into our church a year ago, our current building that we're in, and you came down and spent a week with me. My dad had been there the week before. you came down and spent a week with me, and we worked our butts off.
Yes, we did. He worked me like a rented mule.
We went back like old school days where we'd spend 70, 80 hours a week doing something. And we were,
yeah, and before I went down there, I had all these people that were like, oh, yeah, you guys are going to go down there and go hang out at Disney and go to all the parks and go out to eat and blah, blah, blah. It was like, yeah. We drove by all the parks and we drove by a lot of restaurants.
We relived our heyday in youth ministry where we'd stay up late and get up early and work all day in between. But
we worked more than one 16-hour day.
At least.
Yeah, we worked. I think
three.
we worked 3 16-hour days, and the other ones were either 12 or 14.
But then the fondest thing about it was we got it all done and got everybody, the church was ready to move in. And man, me and you just went, and we went down to Downtown Celebration, and we had a great dinner, and we sat down there. If you've never been to Downtown Celebration, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but there's a lake right in the middle of the downtown with a big fountain out in the middle of it. And we had already eaten at Charlie Steakhouse, which is America's #1 steakhouse,
and it was awesome.
And we just went down and sat down on the bank, well, not the bank, but like it's all concrete around there, and so they have like a little.
It was like a terrace.
It's like like a little amphitheater type of thing, and we just went down, sat down in rocking chairs, and just sat down there and just chilled out and debriefed the whole thing. It just happened, and relived, and just we were celebrating.
Yeah, we were.
We were celebrating our hard work and how awesome it was, and it was just a great time,
relaxing,
to just chill and relive the moment and celebrate our victory. And that's the one thing that Keith and I have always had such a great relationship is what's a victory for me is a victory for him, and a victory for him is a victory for me. And
you'd think that I was the pastor of Direction Church with the way I talk about it.
and so that's what we're trying to get across to you is, I know you're working hard, and I know you got deadlines to meet, and I know that you got a bottom line that you got to fulfill, and I know that you're trying to grow to the next level, and I know that you got to, you grew 7% this year, and you were going for 12, and I get it. I get all that stuff, and I get that you're the process that you use to keep people in the church, and I get all that, but did you improve at all? If you did, you got something to celebrate. And we coach people that way when they're overcoming things in their life for sin or habits, or hey, listen, you've made improvements in your life. They can tell a difference, and why don't we do the same thing with our organization?
Well, they celebrate the anniversaries of it. I haven't smoked a cigarette for 2 weeks, Pastor. Yeah. 2 weeks, or whatever.
We give them high fives. And celebrate.
And we celebrate those.
Yep. The victories of your organization are worth showing appreciation and celebrating. When we did the backpack outreach back in August, we took the time afterwards to bring all of our team in, and we had worked our hind ends off to get all the stuff and hustled.
Packing backpacks, man, that's a lot of work. A lot of work, and takes a lot of people to do.
To bring all that in, and to tell everybody, look, we did something here
of significance, great significance.
It's a great thing.
Yeah,
it's a really great thing, and so that makes your people feel better. It makes your people feel good about what you're doing, and to know that it's not just empty. Okay, we did it. Now what? Let's just on to the next thing. The next thing's coming, whether you want it to come or you don't want it to come. It's coming anyway. So you might as well, before it gets here, get your team ready for it by telling them things.
I know that with the project management that I do, we had a lady that referred a customer to us, and it was one of her friends. So we bought the edible arrangements and brought an edible arrangement to each one of them. The first lady that we brought one to she was like, oh, what is this for? You just want to say thanks for being a great customer and, referrals and blah, blah, blah. And she was just like, well, this is so unexpected. Thank you. And she was an older lady, and, it was something cool for her. If you brought me one, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I don't eat fruit, so it's not it wouldn't have as much meaning to me. And then we went to her friends, which actually she lives about 3/4 of a mile away from her, and brought it to her. And I didn't even get to say thank you or the reason why we were doing it. She just took it and said, "This is so unexpected. I've never had anybody do anything like this for me before." And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is a retired couple. Worked for a major corporation. And I'm like, you've never had anybody just come up out of the blue and do something nice for you? She's like, not that I can recall.
Wow.
And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so the next day when we were back there working on her house, I made they were out talking to us, and I just made a comment about it. And I said, so did you eat any of it? And she goes, and both she and her husband were out there, and they both kind of laughed and said, it's gone. We finished that off last night. And it wasn't small. There was a lot of stuff in that. But and they talked about that the whole time we worked on their house. How thankful and how much they appreciated us as a company thinking about them. She said, how many people come out that work on your home and do something for you like that? You said thank you for hiring you. Nobody thanks us for that. All they ever want is their check, and they want to get paid. You've never even asked it. You didn't even ask us for a down payment on what you did, and you brought us something, and it just blew them out of the water. And I really believe that if we would take the time to be appreciative and make it a priority in our lives, that especially at this time of year, I mean, you have a lot to celebrate. I know that we're looking forward to the new year and all of the things that are to come. And, we're always, but godliness with contentment is great gain.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we're just sitting, but we've got to learn to be content. And part of being content is being thankful. And part of being thankful is saying it to somebody. So as we're kind of rolling through and rolling into the end of the year and into Christmas time right now, we're just a few days away from it. For pastors, let me just encourage you along these lines. Thank your wife and your family. They are making great sacrifices for the sake of the kingdom, for the sake of the ministry and that church. And I really think that out of anybody that should be appreciated, it should be your spouse and your family, because of the things that they're putting up with, your crankiness and moodiness and, the rushed and everybody else being more important than them. Guys, and ladies, let's take some time to really look at our families and say thank you to them and show appreciation to them. And and I'm saying that because we're so quick to thank everybody else. Let's be quick to thank them, because I think that would be a great gift for them.
I agree. And company people, CEOs, take some time to appreciate and thank your staff,
yes,
your employees. I know you've been paying them all year long, but let them know that the success of your company is riding on more than the fact that you're paying them. They're doing it because there's part of them that's interested in it, and you need to thank that part of them and tell them how much you appreciate them. Well, listen, on behalf of my family, I just want to say the merriest of Christmases to all of you. I pray that you get everything that you want.
And feel the same way. Thank you guys for listening. We do appreciate it. You can reach us at 1330podcast@gmail.com. Have a very Merry Christmas.
Remember the reason for the season. Happy birthday, Jesus.
Thanks for joining us for the 1330 Podcast with Brent and Keith. We want to hear from you. Find us on Facebook and Twitter today at 1330 Podcast, or email us directly at 1330podcast@gmail.com. Join us next time for another 13 minutes and 30 seconds geared to change you into the leader that you and those who follow you want you to be.